Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Marie Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry coming to you from two socially distant studios at the edge of the Great Red Divide. Every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. on Facebook Live, we bring you the progressive news and views that you can use to help you make decisions to go about your day. You can find all of our previous episodes at heartlandmamas.com on all podcast platforms, YouTube, and probably part of the Demcast USA network. So today we kind of have a little mixture of stuff to talk about because we had something planned, and then I got my second vaccination today, Murray. It kind of
Yay! We
changed
are so
my mind.
close to being able to be together. Now,
I'm
for those
15
of
days.
you, Heidi and I are closely approaching our 200th episode, and we are going to be giving out a Heartland Mamas t shirt
Yeah.
to one of our YouTube subscribers. So, we wanted to let you guys know if you don't catch us on YouTube, make sure to do that.
Mhm.
And we have not been together to
In
go,
over a year.
yeah, on location or to events in over a year. So we are really excited to be. I get mine in a couple weeks. We're about a month away. We got this, girl.
Yeah, yeah. And in the meantime, as soon as we're back together, we're tearing down the house that I live in now to build a new one. So I might be broadcasting from my car or Marie's house because we'll both be vaccinated. I can
Yeah,
hardly
exactly.
wait.
We can be recording from my house, so that should work out well. But
I,
today, guys, we want to talk a little bit. But before we do, we want you to like, subscribe, and share to the Heartland Mamas. We record every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. and stream live. We also have other episodes that we do in an independent radio show called Heartland Mamas Unrolled. And we go into more depth about some of the topics that we'll cover during our podcast. So please find all of the past ones wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, and on Facebook, and at Heartland Mamas.
mamas.com. So, Murray, today when I was standing in line for my COVID shot, and this is a subject I've been thinking about because my business has been so direly impacted over the last year because of COVID-19. And I think about when we can fully open again because people ask me, I teach horseback riding lessons. I train horses. I have a horse farm. And I'm like a dying breed, that does that anymore because there's no money in it, so nobody wants to do it. And
Right.
but it would be great for me because our bottom line is always trying to pass our top line all the time. We're like a bag of feed away from going into the red. Some months I swear that's how it feels. It's not quite that dire, but when you haven't really worked fully for an entire year, even though we've been in business, my husband and I've been in this business since 1982, and we plan ahead. We plan for bad years, we plan for droughts, we plan for excessive rain, we plan for all of a sudden your clients all decide to get up and go someplace else to board. It happens. And just like some days I decide I'm not shopping at Kroger anymore, I'm going to Jewel or vice versa. So people do that. People are fickle. It's a customer based business and it's very hands on. I mean, I have to touch the riders and move them back into position and work with the horses. I would love to just open fully again, Murray. I would love to have a horse show season I can count on. I would love to know that we're going to have county fairs. I would love to know we're going to have state fairs because the bulk of my income comes from summer camp and horse showing. Guess what we didn't do last year at all?
Horse
Neither one
showing
of us.
and summer camp.
Summer camp. That didn't happen. And right now, we're just hanging by a thread. When I plan summer camp, it takes 8 to 9 months of planning. So I went ahead and started planning, but it's not like you can just flip a switch and open the doors. People, try to find things for their kids to do during the summer months, and they plan way ahead too. So, but and as I tell the kids that ride out here, because we can do the socially distance. Once I get in position, we can stand back and work, right? And they're like, "Are we, Mrs. Henry, are we going to do this? Or Heidi, are we going to do that?" And I always tell them, it's not you kids that are going to screw this up. It's going to be the adults that surround you that's going to screw it up for you because they're going to
So I
refuse
have
to
a
get
question,
vaccinated.
Heidi. How are you
Yeah,
going to handle that? We know that the vaccines are not going to be available or tested enough on
kids.
kids under 16. You
Right.
do older writing lessons and you do veteran lessons and
Yeah.
you do a lot of work, but a large portion of your shows and your camps are kids. So, since that vaccine isn't available
Yeah.
for them yet, are you going to require their parents to be vaccinated?
No, I'm not going to require it. I wish they would, but I'll continue to work in this mask and have um horrible chapped lips all summer, I
Why
guess.
wouldn't why wouldn't you make that a requirement for your boarders, your
I
writers?
honestly don't spend a lot of time with their parents.
Okay.
Most people get to know me pretty well, and they drop their kids off and come back and pick them up. And it's only a problem when once upon a time 30 years ago I had to go find somebody at a bar in town and then ended up having to drive them all home, but that's a whole nother story.
And now,
And they're
Heidi,
fine. Everybody's a grown up now.
the reason
And
I
they
asked that
survive.
question is because you had said that when you were getting your second shot, you ran into the
Mhm.
same woman who got her first shot about the same time you did.
Yeah.
And she was talking because she is a small child care provider. She does in-home
Mhm.
daycare, and they've been impacted significantly with their income because of COVID. And
Mhm.
now that she is vaccinated, she's facing the challenges of how do we go back to this and still keep us safe?
I think a lot of small businesses are in the same boat right now. If everybody would just grow up and get vaccinated and stop being, a mask hole about it, we could move forward as a nation, as a humanity, as a people. But in the meantime, people like her and I, and people that we know with other small businesses, we risk our health every time we're around unvaccinated people. Not just our health, but, you know, my husband's got cancer, hers has diabetes, type 1 diabetes. So, talking to these people, um, we try to find ways to keep our family safe, our spouses safe, and work because we need the income, right? If you know, not only my business is dependent on the income. In fact, my business has continued on with boarding and that sort of thing. It's just facets I can't. But myself, I haven't had any income. She hasn't had any income for over a year now. And I would challenge any of our watchers to do the same thing. When you and I ran for office, it was another time that I took almost 18 months off without an income because I was so busy running for office. You took time off to run for office, and you can't you can't afford to do it too long, right? Nobody can. That's why candidates don't run over and over again. They're like, I don't want to be broke again. So they don't do it. So when I talked to her, and then I talked to other people. I know a guy that has a restaurant, never closed during COVID, never closed. Never closed. They would enter through the back door and eat and drink at his establishment. He got PPP the first round and the second round. He got grants from the state of Illinois to keep his business open. So he's double and triple and quadruple dipping, right? And now he's complaining to me that he can't get servers in to work at his restaurant. I'm like, because everybody who dines there is a mask hold. You're supposed to wear your mask when your server comes to the table, and they don't. They refuse to. And I've talked to some of his servers because I know them, and they're like, look, every time I go to their table, to take an order, if you have your mask on, they're not going to tip you. The same people will say, take your mask off or you're not getting a tip. And this one girl, Carrie, that I know that waits tables, she's like, so here's my dilemma. I take my mask off so I can get a bigger tip. They give me COVID. I take 2 to 3 weeks off of work for myself. Then my kids get sick. Then my husband gets sick. Then my mom gets sick. When can I go back to work?
You
When
know,
is it
Heidi,
safe for me to go back to work? You
another
know?
example is my stylist. She's
Mhm.
fantastic. She cuts all the boys' hair. She has a small private studio inside of a larger studio of suites.
Right.
And we were having this conversation last night, in fact. And I said, "Hey, have you gotten your vaccine yet? I think you should be eligible coming up soon." And she said, "I haven't because I still have some questions and I'd like to just wait a little longer to make sure everything is safe and good with it." But at the same time, she said she has to support her business. And the only way for her to support her business is to be healthy and working. And so, even though she had some reservations herself about getting the vaccine because she needs more information, which is okay, she wasn't adverse to it. And the thought
Mhm.
of being gone for hours and hours or
Yeah.
weeks without income and shutting her shop down is enough to make her do it over those concerns. So I think a lot of people are facing this right now, especially when we understand that the virus is changing and that vaccines are good, but if we do not catch this quickly, it's very possible that the viruses will continue to mutate and mutate to make vaccines ineffective. And we
Well,
can start the process all over again.
I was just looking at the statistics out of Florida today, just before we went on the air. And in Florida, of the cases reported just last week, they have 1,040 of the UK variant, 21 of the Brazilian variant, and 9 of the South African variant. And some of those are people that already had COVID or and recovered from it and now contracted it again with a different variant. And they're really sick, Murray. They're the problem with some of these variants, especially the Brazilian and the South African, is they're very severe, very sudden, and debilitating with
And they're
long
highly
term,
contagious. That's something we
highly contagious.
forget.
Yeah,
Is that all of them can, even the standard first batch of COVID, we see people who are long haulers, people who
right,
3 months, 6 months later are still suffering from things.
right.
From we see people who a year later still are having blood clots and on dialysis. So, everybody's talking about, oh, well, it's not going to kill me now. It probably won't kill me. But it can still cause you significant problems that will impact the future of your life and the quality of life that you're going to have.
Well, and I think that the choosing not to be vaccinated and choosing to perhaps get sick doesn't take into account all the people around you that will get sick. I know somebody who was asymptomatic for COVID and found out that they had COVID only after another family member contracted COVID 19. This was late last spring. And the person that contracted it, a family member, ended up dying from COVID 19. When this person was not symptomatic at all, did not realize they gave it to a loved one, and it killed them, literally killed them. And they'll never emotionally recover from that, from what happened. The fact that they were slightly careless, a little cavalier about it. I never get sick. And then, got sick but didn't have any symptoms. So saw somebody they loved that they're related to, gave them COVID and it killed them. And this happens all the time. And you may not know it, but when you're, uh, when you're shedding virus, and you shed virus when you have a cold, when you have the flu, when you have um, rotavirus, whatever, you're shedding it constantly, right? So you can be shedding COVID virus, not showing any symptoms, and you can make a whole room full of people sick, and maybe some of them don't have symptoms, but a couple of them will get it, and a couple of them will be really sick. And it's really unfathomable to me when you know that you could prevent someone from getting sick, that you don't do everything in your power to stop, to prevent it. I can't imagine being that selfish and that careless with other people's good health. So,
Well, I know that this is an issue and everybody is facing it. And I would like to say that as the data girl of, you know, the Heartland Mamas, the probability of getting the shot causing you any issues is extraordinarily low, and the probability of getting COVID and having significant lifelong complications is very high. So if you just look at it as a risk reward benefit, even if it means you have to wear a mask for another couple of months after you get vaccinated, look at it from that perspective. If I get COVID, like my stylist did, she said, if I get COVID, I lose work. Even though she's not convinced about the vaccine, she realizes cost, reward, benefit analysis that it's better for her to take that risk and keep herself healthy.
well, and I think the economic detriment that not getting vaccinated causes not just yourself, but everyone around you, every business around you is real. And people have to understand the economic impact that's impacted my business and impacted Sherry, who was in line with me today, her business, that it impacted, the waitress that I know, the server that I know. We have to understand that these things are real and economically oppressive for small business, the economy as a whole, and the world from healing. And we're starting to talk about COVID passports, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming. You're not going to be able to travel. You're not going to be able to go to different countries. You're not going to be able to fly. You're not going to be able to get on a train. You're not going to be able to rent cars or dine out pretty soon without your COVID passport. And because those are private property, they can demand that you have them. I have mine.
All right, so now we're going to jump on to another topic, and we are going to talk about something that I'm really excited about, and we're going to do a deep dive on this on Thursday. So,
Yeah.
ears up, perk up. Uh, we know that we have done a show on the Department of Defense and racism in the military, extremism in the
Mhm.
military. And we know
Right.
the head of the Pentagon, General Lloyd Austin, told all of his troops to stand down and that they would be conducting interviews and rooting out those folks who have some sort of racial bias or radicalized ideology, be it Proud Boy or whatever the case may be.
Three
But what
percenter, yeah.
but what we don't know, and this is super interesting, and I want everyone to keep your eyes and ears open, is last Friday night, the Washington Post was given a copy of a memo from the Department of Defense that was sent to every military and civilian contractor. Remember, the Department of Defense has 100,000 employees that are civilian
Right.
that work there. And
Hmm.
so this memo was put out, and the first line of the memo is something to the effect of there are traitors in the
Yeah.
in the Pentagon. So this is the first memo that every employee gets. If you're a coffee girl running a mailroom or one of the highest levels at the Pentagon, like Flynn, who was there and he shouldn't have been when he allowed the insurrection to happen. But the next part that makes this really interesting is it talks about it being a awareness training for radical ideologies. And in it, they talk about the Proud Boys, they talk about women, they talk about hate, any sort of hate group, any sort of symbols associated with these hate groups. They even put Antifa in there. Yeah, okay, they put Antifa in there. And we need to pause for 1 second here because by putting Antifa in there, it just didn't seem to make sense since the intelligence community is a part of the Pentagon and they work together and they know Antifa isn't real. Why would they mention it in this or this manual? So it gets
So
better.
weird. It was so
So
weird,
as
Mary.
you go down, it turns out that it is designed or sent out from human resources in a very tiny little agency in the DoD. And this little agency has about 200 people in it, and I can't think of the acronym off the top of my head. This is just a teaser to get you to listen on Thursday. And it has 200 people, and the office specializes in research, psychology, contractor work, and testing. Anybody who works for the Department of Defense has got to know that that's a branch they don't normally hear about and would probably go, oh, which group is that? If it wasn't something you were familiar with. So that starts this feeling like, oh, crap. Now,
Yeah.
think about this. So these employees have until April 15th to complete this 15-hour training. They also have their manual, and at the end of the training, they have to answer questions to show their comprehension of it. So you have all of these things that don't quite make any sense. The Pentagon probably knows 90% of those folks who are involved in this type of material. Maybe not the lower levels or those folks who aren't as high on the pay grade, but they have a definite idea of who's involved. So what is
Hmm.
this going to do? All of a sudden, this memo, which is very out of the ordinary, and the Department of Defense doesn't let things out unless they want to. And the specifics contained in the article, the information released by WAPU, makes it so that they specifically set this up. This is a trap. This is a way to root out those folks. If I'm guilty and I get this memo about something that I think I might do, I'm going to throw blame on Antifa or someone that I don't like or someone with radical ideologies. Because remember, Antifa's not real. The Pentagon knows Antifa's not real. And they put it in that official department memo and training in and of itself. Yes.
Murray, it sounds like McCarthyism.
Heidi, that's exactly what I thought when I first read the article and I got to that point. I'm like, dude, this is some serious reverse McCarthyism. Like, he was hunting for communists that didn't exist, but I believe the Department of Defense is hunting for traitors that do.
So, by looking for something that doesn't exist?
No. I think it's a ploy. By adding Antifa in there, it makes those people are going to. There's a chance people who are guilty are going to blame someone else and claim they're Antifa. And so that will come out, and they'll be able to see prejudices and thought patterns in and of itself. Remember, this is a highly specialized department of psychological research and testing.
Wait, Marie. So if I say, hello, hotline, Marie Briel is Antifa, they'll be judging me?
Yes. But that's only if you work at the Department of Defense. Okay, and you don't, so we're good.
Right. Yeah.
And so, but the interesting part is none of the other extremist groups that they claim are out there is in there. So there has to be a reason why it was out. So we have to put it together. We know that the Department of Defense wouldn't let anything out because everybody's sworn to secret. We know this comes from a highly specialized area. We know they made it very specific to point out what department in the DOD this came from to create panic and lead people to make mistakes. But I don't think that they're trying to lead the DOD folks, because anybody with half a brain who works in the Pentagon probably figures out this is something weird going on with the way it's been done. They're doing it to root out those legislators and power brokers attached to the people inside the Pentagon. Those phone calls will be coming in. Did you see this? What's this all about? And they'll be able to track those lines and use that as a pattern. I'm thinking it's a trap.
Very interesting, Murray. I can't wait till Thursday when we unroll this because it's weird.
And there are just so many things that it's not weird in and of itself when you think about a department being open and forthright about their issues, like the Pentagon with Stand Down and working on the military aspect. So why wouldn't they take and make that into a civilian move that transferred very similarly? But they didn't. It was a much greater. The wordings used, and we'll go over that on Thursday, are designed to create an impact, to create fear, to create suspicion, to create tension. And when it got out, there are politicians who saw this article, and I'm guaranteeing there's a few wetting their pants right now going, holy crap, what'd you say? What did anybody say? Did anybody see? And I'm betting they probably know those folks inside, and they have them tapped and being watched.
Well, yeah.
And this isn't conspiracy. This is actual, I want you all to know that. This is actual observation from facts and patterns of predictability. It is out of the ordinary, which is something to look at.
Oh, weird. Sometimes, Marie, we come across, you or I come across a story like this, and you don't know if we should put it in a weird news roundup, which we're going to have to revisit pretty soon because there's been some weird stuff, or if it's like bordering on a QAnon theory, like of disinformation.
Absolutely. But this one, I am going to say that whether my assessment is correct or not, I do believe you will be seeing over the next few months information, grand jury indictment information that stems from this. I do. I think so.
It's
All right.
pretty incredible.
So,
So
guys, tune in on Thursday. You do not want to miss this. This is going to be like highly probable that this is going on. So, tune in on Thursdays and Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. But the most important thing you guys can do is to help us is to like, subscribe, and share. Go to our YouTube channel, Heartland Mamas. Go to our website, heartlandmamas.com. Find us on independent radio, Heartland Mamas Unrolled. We are everywhere. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody that we're not just hat racks and to join us on our show.
yeah,
So thanks again, Heidi, Heartland Mamas.
mamas.com. We'll see you later, everybody. Take care now. Bye bye.